What if this video wasn't a coincidence? What if you didn't stumble on this by chance but were led here because something deep within you is ready to change? Neville Goddard once said, "There is no such thing as accident or chance. Everything that appears in your life has meaning." And that includes the fact that you're hearing these words right now. This video is more than information. It's a reminder, a signal, a gentle nudge from your higher awareness that something is about to shift. So if you've been waiting for a sign, if you felt close but not quite there, this might be the message you were meant to receive. Because in Neville's world, the world of consciousness, the outer always reflects the inner. You don't watch this because you're curious. You watch it because you're aligned. You're next in line, not by luck, but by your state of being. And in the next few minutes, you'll learn why. We are going deep into one of Neville's most powerful ideas. That life isn't happening to you, it's responding through you. You're not waiting for a breakthrough, you're creating the conditions for it. So stay until the end. There's something waiting for you on the other side of this message. And you might feel it before you even understand it. Welcome to Ignis Mindset, where belief meets transformation. If you're ready to step into your next level, hit subscribe now, because this is just the beginning. Now let's begin. There's something powerful in realizing you didn't find this video by accident. Neville Goddard teaches that everything you experience is drawn by your consciousness. If this message has appeared in your feed, it's not random, it's resonance. That means whether you realize it or not, some part of you is already in alignment with the idea of winning, of receiving, of becoming. You're not separate from your desires. You are connected to them, and they are reaching toward you as you reach toward them. This is the first shift, to move away from thinking in terms of coincidence and begin seeing your life as a mirror. If this video showed up, it's because your inner world is changing, and now the outer world is catching up. You may have been working on yourself, affirming, visualizing, letting go. But sometimes the mind still says, when is it going to happen? That question alone is proof that you're near. You've held the vision long enough that now you're starting to feel the pressure of the birth. Neville said, an assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. So imagine what happens when your assumption is true and you persist in it. The world must conform, the doors must open, the people must appear, the breakthrough must come. It's not about forcing anything. It's about noticing what's already unfolding and realizing you are the one who set it in motion. You didn't find this video, you called it, because you're next in line to win. If you're next in line to win, it doesn't mean you're waiting your turn like someone standing in a queue. In Neville Goddard's teachings, next doesn't refer to time, it refers to identity. Life doesn't respond to clocks, calendars, or effort alone. It responds to who you believe you are. That's the secret most people miss. You don't receive your breakthrough because time has passed. You receive it because you've shifted into the version of yourself who is already living the result. Neville often said that everything in your world is a reflection of your inner state. If you want to manifest a different reality, you don't chase the outcome. You change the self that is doing the living. That's where real power begins. Not with affirmations shouted once or twice, not with momentary motivation, but with a steady assumption, the quiet but firm belief that it is already done. So many people ask, when will it happen for me? But that question often hides a deeper identity, one that still feels separate from the result. If you see yourself as someone who's always waiting, life will mirror back more waiting. But when you assume the identity of the person who has already received, when you truly feel it and live from it, you collapse time, because life has no choice but to meet you at the level of your inner conviction. Think about it like this. You're not chasing the win, you're becoming the one who wins. There's a huge difference. The first mindset is rooted in lack, in believing you're on the outside looking in. The second is rooted in truth. The truth that your outer life must eventually match your inner story. Neville made it clear, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not the wishing, not the waiting, the feeling, because feelings carry identity. When you feel like it's yours, you think differently. You walk differently. You speak with clarity, not confusion. And that change of being is what signals life to respond. So yes, you are next in line. But don't confuse that with passively waiting for something to happen. Instead, choose to live in the assumption that it already has. That mindset is what draws the breakthrough to you, not as a surprise, but as a reflection of your self-concept. There's a subtle difference between wanting something and being ready for it. And that difference is everything. Wanting comes from noticing something is missing, but readiness is a shift in identity. It means you're no longer trying to become, you've already claimed the version of you who has it. That's the shift Neville Goddard constantly pointed to. Change your inner state, and you change your entire world. He didn't mean force it. He didn't mean fake confidence or pretend to feel good when you don't. He meant step into the consciousness of someone who already lives in the reality they desire. That is the state of I am ready. Think of a seed. It doesn't need to convince the soil to support it. It only needs the right conditions. And the most powerful condition for manifestation is a state of being that says, I am ready now, not tomorrow, not when everything looks perfect. Now, many people block their own blessings, not because they aren't worthy, but because they secretly still identify with the version of themselves who is preparing, doubting, or waiting. There's always a reason to say, I'm not ready yet. The money isn't here. The circumstances haven't lined up. You still have doubts. But here's the truth. Neville teaches. Readiness is not about external perfection. It's an inner permission. The moment you say I am, the universe doesn't argue with you. If you say I am still waiting, it reflects that back. If you say I am not ready, then you'll always find proof of that. But if you say I am chosen, I am prepared, I am already living it, something begins to shift. Quietly, gently, but powerfully. Neville spoke often about states. He made it clear, you are not stuck, you are not fixed. Your self is not frozen in time. What you are experiencing is a state, and states are always changing. A state of doubt, a state of lack, a state of becoming, a state of victory. All of these are available to you right now. The question is, which one are you embodying? We live from states, not from facts. You could have a bank account with zero in it. But if you persist in the state of wealth, of being someone who attracts opportunities, sees abundance, and walks in confidence, your outer world will eventually match that state. Because states generate action, and action, repeated, creates conditions. That's the quiet secret behind people who seem lucky. They're not lucky. They're living from an inner world that supports their outer results. They wake up and feel certain, even when nothing has changed. They move from inner clarity. They speak from a place of knowing, and eventually, life catches up. Neville once said, states are bound to pass, which means the state you're in right now, whether hopeful or heavy, is not final. It's temporary, and that's good news, because you can change it. So ask yourself, are you still in the state of waiting? Or are you ready to step into the state of being? This doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It doesn't mean pushing away fear. It means anchoring yourself in a new truth, that you are allowed to claim what is already yours. That readiness isn't proven by how much you've healed or how hard you've worked. Readiness is claimed in your identity. You become ready when you stop checking the clock and start trusting the shift. You become ready when you stop rehearsing failure and start rehearsing fulfillment. You become ready the moment you stop asking, when will it come? And start saying, thank you, it's already done. This is why Neville emphasized imagination. He taught that imagination wasn't childish fantasy. It was creation itself. When you imagine something vividly with feeling, you impress it on your subconscious. And the subconscious doesn't argue. It simply accepts and expresses what you give it consistently. So if you keep giving it feelings of almost, not yet, maybe later, it will reflect those back. But if you begin imagining from the state of already, your body will respond, your thoughts will begin to align, your actions will shift, and life, as it always does, will rearrange itself to fit the new pattern. The state of I am ready is a calm place. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's quiet confidence, a kind of stillness, like someone who knows the table is being set, even if they can't see it yet. You don't chase when you're ready. You don't beg. You don't obsess. You become. That's how you draw things in, not by running toward them, but by becoming the one they're looking for. Neville once said, to be conscious of being is to be alive. That means whatever you are conscious of being, whether strong or unsure, abundant or lacking, worthy or unworthy, will begin to fill your world. So step into the state of readiness. Feel what it's like to have it now, to know it's unfolding, to rest in the quiet certainty that you are aligned with what you once chased. Because in truth, you're not chasing anymore. You've become, and that's the greatest sign that your breakthrough is closer than it's ever been. There's a truth most people overlook, and it's this: the outer win is always a shadow of the inner shift. Long before you see anything change around you, something changes within you, quietly, subtly, almost like a whisper. That shift is the root. The breakthrough is only the fruit. Neville Goddard taught that the world is yourself pushed out, which means what you are being internally in thought, in feeling, in identity, will eventually be reflected back to you by the world outside. If there's a delay, it's not punishment. It's just proof that the old self is still lingering, still echoing out old assumptions. When people say, I'll feel confident when I get the job, or I'll believe in love when I meet the right person, they've reversed the process. They've placed the outer event as the cause and the inner state as the effect. But Neville flipped that entirely. He taught that your inner world is the only cause, and what happens externally is simply the effect. So if you want a different result, the first place to look is not your circumstances, but your concept of self. And what is a concept of self? It's the invisible story you keep telling yourself. It's what you assume to be true about you, about life, and about what's possible. For many, this story goes unnoticed. It's quiet, habitual, and deeply embedded. But it's also changeable. And the moment you realize that, you begin to unlock everything. You've probably had moments in your life where nothing around you changed, but you changed and suddenly people treated you differently. Opportunities showed up. You made a different choice. That's no accident. That's the power of an inner shift. Neville once said, dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment. In other words, reality begins adjusting itself the moment you dare to assume something new, not in arrogance, not in delusion, but in quiet faith. He emphasized that assumptions, when persisted in, become beliefs, and beliefs, when accepted deeply enough, alter your identity. That identity shift is the real work. It doesn't always feel dramatic. Often it's as simple as no longer needing to be chosen, because you've chosen yourself, or no longer fearing loss, because you've stepped into the state of wholeness. These are the shifts that turn fate. You may not even notice it at first, but others will. The way you carry yourself changes. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. You speak less, but your words land deeper. You radiate quiet certainty, not because you're faking it, but because you are it. That's the level Neville invites us to, not surface level affirmations, not mechanical repetition, but deep, conscious embodiment of the truth you wish to live. You don't say it to believe it. You believe it so fully that you naturally say it, live it, and walk it. Here's something else. The inner shift doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It just means you stop interpreting them the same way. You stop seeing delays as denial. You stop seeing conflict as rejection. Instead, you understand that life is reflecting your assumptions, and you respond from your chosen state, not your reactive self. Say you've been wanting to manifest abundance. The outer world still looks the same. Bills are due, opportunities feel scarce. But inside, something's different. You've stopped identifying with lack. You've stopped feeling behind. You've stepped into the feeling of I am supported. I am provided for. I am open. That shift, even before the money appears, is the real miracle. Because once it becomes natural in you, the external must rearrange. Neville referred to this process as living in the end, not thinking about the desire, but thinking from it. When you live from the state of the wish fulfilled, you no longer observe it from a distance. You inhabit it as if it's already true, and that habit becomes magnetic. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people you've met often aren't the loudest or most forceful? They carry a quiet presence, a settled energy. That's not random. That's the effect of a shifted identity. They're not waiting for the world to give them permission. They've already claimed it inwardly. And when you live like that, even quietly, life notices. Situations bend. People sense it. You stop chasing things because they begin gravitating toward you. Not because of magic, but because your state has changed, and state is the origin of all outcomes. Neville made it clear, you are never the victim of life, only the victim of your imagination used unwisely. But the moment you reclaim your inner story, you reclaim your power. This is not about being perfect. It's about being aware. The more aware you become of your inner narrative, the more freedom you have to edit it, to revise it, to replace it with something truer, bolder, freer. So if you're waiting on the breakthrough, stop looking for the next sign. Look inside. Ask, what have I been assuming about myself? And then gently but persistently, begin assuming something new, something that honors your worth, something that aligns with your vision, something that feels like truth, even if it's unfamiliar, because your world will not change until you do. But the moment you do, the rest cannot help but follow. When the inner shift occurs, the outer world must respond, but it doesn't always do it the way you expect. That's where Neville Goddard's teaching on the bridge of events becomes vital. He explained that once you enter the state of the wish fulfilled, truly assume the feeling of your desire being real, life begins to rearrange itself to reflect that state. But the process isn't always obvious. The events that follow might feel random, even inconvenient. But if you look deeper, you'll see a pattern forming, a quiet alignment, pulling you toward what you've already claimed within. Neville used the term bridge of incidents to describe this. Imagine walking across a bridge to your desired reality. You don't build the bridge. You don't control the details. You only need to walk it calmly, with faith that each step is part of the unfolding. What surprises most people is that this bridge may include detours, delays, even setbacks. Things might break down before they break through. Relationships may end. Jobs may shift. Something you relied on may fall away. But these aren't signs that your desire is denied. Often they're the exact events required to clear space for the new version of you to emerge. Think of it this way. If you declare yourself abundant, but your current environment reflects scarcity, life must shift. The old structures cannot hold the new state, and so things move. And if you're watching closely, you'll feel the difference. Not chaos, but divine rearrangement. Neville emphasized that you don't need to know how. That's not your role. Your only responsibility is to persist in the assumption. Let life handle the bridge. Let circumstances align themselves. There's a certain humility in this, because it means trusting what you can't yet see. It means releasing control over details. And for many, that's the hardest part. We want proof before peace. But Neville taught the reverse. Find peace, and proof will follow. This is where most people fall back. They imagine the wish fulfilled for a day, a week, even a month. But then they start checking for results. They look at the world and say, nothing's happening. And so they abandon the state. But the truth is, things were happening, just not in a way their logical mind could recognize yet. You've likely had moments where something didn't make sense until later. A rejection led to a better opportunity. A delay created perfect timing. A closed door protected you from something you couldn't see. These are not coincidences. They are part of the intelligent pattern life weaves around your inner world. Neville said the world does not change. It reflects. And when you understand that, you stop reacting to every event as final. You start seeing even the hard moments as part of your bridge. You walk through them differently, not in fear, but with quiet knowing. So how do you stay on the bridge? You remain faithful to the feeling, not the outer facts. You wake up and choose the state again, not with pressure, but with calm repetition. You don't argue with delay. You don't panic at silence. You simply stay rooted, inwardly stable, emotionally still, because that stillness creates clarity. And that clarity allows you to recognize your bridge when it appears. For example, someone once imagined being in a deeply loving relationship, but before that reality unfolded, they experienced the ending of an old, toxic one. It hurt. It felt like a setback, but it wasn't. It was part of the bridge. That ending created emotional space. It awakened new standards. And because they didn't resist the ending, they were ready when something better arrived. This is the beauty of the bridge. You don't need to force it. You just need to cooperate with it by staying loyal to your new self-concept. And that's the key word here, loyalty. Not loyalty to a wishful thought, but to the version of you who already lives it. You remain loyal to that identity, even when the world doesn't recognize it yet. You show up as that person. You speak like that person. You walk, breathe, and live from that state, not to convince others, but to align yourself with what's already yours. Because when you're in the state, the bridge reveals itself. Ideas come, people show up, doors open. And most importantly, the unnecessary falls away, not as punishment, as preparation. Neville's method was never about wishful thinking. It was about inner transformation. And the bridge is what carries you from the self that wants to, the self that has, from the self that waits, to the self that lives from the end. So if your life feels uncertain right now, if you've declared a desire and everything seems to be shifting around you, don't panic, don't pull back. You're likely in the middle of the bridge. Stay with the vision, stay with the assumption. Trust that even what feels out of place is part of the perfect path. Because if the desire was real to you, the bridge is real too. Even if you can't see all of it yet, keep walking, one step at a time, one assumption at a time, one faithful morning after another. The state is done, and so the bridge will rise to meet you. We often ask when will the desire come? When will things change? When will I see proof that it's working? But Neville Goddard had a different way of looking at time. He didn't place the manifestation into the future. He brought it into the now through the power of assumption. To live from the end means this: you no longer wait. You no longer project your desire into some distant someday. You claim it inwardly as already done, not through force, not by pretending, but by quietly stepping into the state where the wish has already been fulfilled and living from there. Neville taught that imagination is the only creative force in the universe. And imagination isn't about daydreaming. It's about feeling. And feeling has no timeline. You can feel successful now. You can feel chosen now. You can feel healed, loved, valued, right here before anything changes outside of you. And this is where the real shift happens. Because when you stop needing a deadline, you release resistance. And when you release resistance, the assumption becomes stable. It's no longer a thing you're trying to believe. It becomes natural. Neville said, live as though the wish were already fulfilled. And many people misinterpret this as acting out roles or faking it. But it's much deeper than that. It's about embodying the identity of the person who no longer needs to wait. Imagine a person who just received wonderful news. They don't need to try to believe it. Their whole demeanor shifts. There's a softness in their eyes, a lightness in their step. They move differently. They breathe differently. And that's exactly the energy Neville taught us to dwell in before the news arrives. Because the truth is, the moment you fully occupy that state inwardly, your external world is already on the path to mirror it. But here's the trap many fall into. They assume the feeling for a moment, then look around and check. Is it here yet? That very question reveals that they haven't truly dropped the timeline. They're still measuring time, still holding the desire at arm's length. Neville said clearly, do not concern yourself with how or when. Your only job is to dwell in the end. This means waking up with a quiet confidence, going through your day with a sense of certainty, not because anything has changed yet, but because you have changed. Your identity is new, and identity always leads reality. You'll notice something interesting happens when you stop needing it soon. The energy shifts. You become less reactive, more relaxed. You're not triggered by delay. You're not shaken by appearances. You're rooted in a deeper knowing. The seed has been planted, and all you're doing now is staying in the sunlight. This is why Neville spoke of pruning. Let go of the old story. Let go of the past timelines. You're not bound by how long it took others. You're not stuck in how things normally unfold. Your life bends around your assumption, not statistics, not logic, not even memory. Some people manifest in days, others take months. The difference isn't the desire, it's the level of inner acceptance. The person who no longer watches the clock often sees the miracle first, and you'll know when you've dropped the timeline. You'll stop searching. You won't scroll for more techniques. You won't need constant reassurance. The desire will feel real enough inside you that you can relax into it, like sitting in your favorite chair. Neville often spoke of the Sabbath, not in the religious sense, but as a mental state, the inner rest that comes once you've truly accepted the fulfillment of your desire. You don't plant a seed and then dig it up every hour to check. You plant, you water, you rest. So here's a simple shift. Stop living toward the outcome and start living from it. You don't say, I will be loved. You feel I am loved. You don't say success is coming. You embody, I am success. You don't say, I'm becoming worthy. You own, I am already enough. This shift isn't about pretending. It's about remembering. Because deep down, a part of you already knows this version of you. It's already alive inside. You're not chasing it. You're choosing to live from it now. And yes, the world may take a little time to catch up. That's okay. The delay is not denial. It's just reflection in progress. Let it catch up. Let it echo what you've now decided is true. Because when you drop the timeline, you create space for grace. You become open, receptive, aligned. Neville said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and let it clothe itself in flesh. That's the process. You imagine it real. You dwell in that inner state. And then, without effort or worry, life begins to take form around it. No more anxious waiting. No more forcing the path. You've already arrived, not in the outer sense, but in the one that matters most. So breathe. Stay in the end. Let life unfold on its own perfect timeline. Your job is not to rush it, it's to trust it, and to keep choosing moment after moment to remain the person who already has it. That's how you collapse time. That's how you walk the fastest path. Not by speeding up the world, but by slowing down inside. Because once the assumption is steady, reality has no choice but to meet it. Persistence isn't about intensity. It's about consistency. And Neville Goddard made this point clear again and again. It's not what you imagine once. It's what you continue to occupy as a state of being. Most people fail to manifest not because they lack desire, but because they abandon the feeling too soon. They touch the state of the wish fulfilled briefly, feel inspired, maybe even emotional, and then as life stays the same for another day or week, they doubt, they check, they question, and slowly they fall back into the old state. Neville warned of this tendency to plant the seed, but never let it root, to imagine the end, but not persist long enough for it to become natural. You see, the human mind loves novelty. It seeks stimulation, new methods, new promises. But true change isn't born from jumping around. It's born from settling into one clear end, persisting in it, returning to it every day, gently as if brushing your spiritual teeth. The reality you see today is a reflection of your previous assumptions. And if you're not happy with that reality, don't fight it. Don't react to it. Simply shift and stay. Because it's not the desire that creates. It's the assumption, the continued living in a conviction that this is already mine, that I am already it, even when facts deny it, even when others doubt it, especially then. Neville often said that you must live in the end so faithfully that nothing in the outer world can convince you otherwise. That's the level of persistence that moves mountains. And no, this isn't always easy. The world will test you, not as punishment, but as a mirror. It will reflect your doubts. It will echo your old beliefs. But if you persist quietly, confidently, the outer world must bend. It's law. There's a moment where the assumption stops feeling like imagination and starts feeling like truth. You'll know it when it happens. The desire stops feeling separate. It becomes a quiet fact within you, so alive, so real, that even if no one else sees it, you do. And when you reach that place, manifestation becomes inevitable. Because now you're not hoping, you're living. You're not waiting, you're already there. This is the space where miracles happen, not because something magical occurred, but because you persisted long enough for the world to catch up to your inner shift. And if you ever feel tempted to give up, pause. Remember, every assumption you drop resets the clock. Every doubt is a distraction. Every time you pull the seed out of the soil to check its progress, you interrupt the growth. Instead, remain, re-enter the state, reaffirm the end, not in panic, not in pressure, but in peace. The truth is the path is simple, not easy, but simple. Enter the state, persist in the state, let life reflect the state. That's it. Now, if you've watched this far, then something in you already knows you're on the edge of a major breakthrough. You wouldn't be here otherwise. That inner version of you, the one who already has the desire, is reaching back to remind you. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to chase it. You just need to become it. And the fastest way to do that is to persist in the assumption until the outside world has no choice but to agree. Everything you desire already exists, not outside, but within. It's not waiting for the perfect moment. It's waiting for the inner shift. And once you make that shift, your life begins to align with it, subtly, powerfully, inevitably. So if you've been wondering whether to keep going, whether this path really works, let this be your sign. You're closer than you think. Stay with it. Don't let appearances fool you. Don't let doubt drag you back. What you've asked for is already yours, if you can hold the assumption long enough to become it. Thank you for watching this video, all the way through. If this message stirred something in you, if it reminded you of who you really are and what's already possible for you, then please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're next in line to win, and your breakthrough is already on the way.